Once it says live, yeah.
Does say live.
It says live. Hi, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
How are you?
Hello.
My name is Rebecca Larson. I am Senior Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admissions, and I'm super excited to welcome you all to our Early Decision ED Hangout. So before we get started, I just want to quickly go over some kind of guidelines for the next hour. First of all, we're super excited to be welcoming students from the class of 2020 admitted to all three of our degree-granting campuses in New York, Abu Dhabi, and Shanghai. We're excited to welcome you all to this Google Hangout. Today, we're going to cover some broad themes about the NYU experience and the common experience across all three of our campuses. And just to kind of go over some nuts and bolts before we get started. If you're joining us using your Google Plus account, make sure you click on the top right corner of your window. Click on the box with the white squares and click on the yellow Q&A icon. You can then type your question in the text box below. Sound good? All right. You can also tweet your questions using the hashtag NYU Hangout or by tagging @MeetNYU in your tweet. If you have specific questions about financial aid or your offer of admission, please call our admissions office directly to speak one-on-one with an admission counselor. If you can't stay with us for the full hour, don't worry about it. The video from tonight's Hangout will be available on Meet NYU's YouTube channel later this evening. So before we get started with all of your questions, we're just going to quickly go over some introductions so you know who's here at the NYU Google Hangout today. My name, as I said, is Rebecca Larson. I'm Senior Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admissions, and I have a recruitment territory in the Pacific Northwest, so I travel to Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Alaska. So if I have anyone from my territories, welcome to NYU. I'm super excited to welcome you to our class, and everyone else too, not just people from the Pacific Northwest. But since that's the region I meet with students, and I'm excited for that region in particular. So we're going to start with RJ.
Cool. Hey, everyone. My name is RJ. I'm a sophomore in liberal studies, studying politics, rights, and development, and pursuing a minor in social entrepreneurship. And I am from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hi guys, my name is Kelly. I'm a senior in the Steinhardt School, majoring in media, culture, and communication, and minoring in French through the College of Arts and Science, and I'm from Vancouver, Canada.
Hi everybody, super excited to be here. My name is Roman. I'm originally from Ukraine. I'm a sophomore at NYU Abu Dhabi, and my major is social research and public policy with a minor from Steinhardt in urban and global education studies.
And are you studying here in New York this semester?
Yeah.
Okay. And have you been here all year?
I have not been here all year.
Just for the
first semester.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we're going to get started with some questions. So the first question is, I'm excited about being admitted to NYU, but what happens now? What are my next steps? So the first thing you want to do, especially for our early decision to admitted students that are hanging out with us today, first and foremost, you want to submit your enrollment deposit, meaning that you want to confirm your enrollment at NYU by paying a $500 deposit for students that were admitted to our campus in New York and Shanghai. And then in addition to that, you also want to submit a housing deposit if you choose to live on campus. And then the next important steps are to continue performing well academically, because your offer of admission is conditional upon your successful completion of high school, so don't let senioritis kick in too bad. And then you're going to wait to hear from us regarding next steps. So in the next couple of months, you'll be receiving lots of emails from what's called Next Stop NYU, and that's going to walk you through everything that you need to do before you arrive on campus in the fall, things like applying for housing, registering for courses, and so on and so forth. So Next Stop NYU is going to be really kind of your go-to website to really learn about everything you need to do to best prepare for the next steps at NYU. All right, so next question. So this is for the ambassadors. What was your transition to campus like? So why don't we start with you talking about your transition to NYU Abu Dhabi, and then we'll talk about your transition to NYU.
Sure. Well, the transition wasn't quite difficult, or wasn't as challenging as I expected it to be, because it was actually a fun year. It was a new campus on Saadiyat. So everyone was lost, and was as challenging for everyone as it was for freshman students. But it was great. It turned out to be great. As faculty and Office of First Year Programming were super supportive, so there are a lot of resources that students can use. And one of the goals of the Office of First Year Programming is to basically have provide resources for students if they can't, if they're looking for to get engaged, get involved on campus whatsoever. This office is going to help them to engage them with the community. Besides first year programming, FYP, they're going to organize a couple of events, marhaba, as we call it in Abu Dhabi, which is welcome, the welcome week, and general welcome week is an introduction. So it's a really helpful orientation for you to kind of get used to campus.
Great. Sure, Kelly.
So my transition to NYU's campus was maybe a little atypical because I'm a commuter student, but I still moved in to New York. Obviously, I'm not actually from New York, so I actually moved in with my older sister who was also going to school here in New York at the same time. So I had that little piece of family sort of already built into my sort of new home here in New York. But I have to say that if any of you all are going to be commuter students, do not worry. NYU takes fantastic care of its commuter students. You'll be set up with a commuter assistant. You'll get well acquainted with the commuter lounge in Kimmel. They have all sorts of fun programming all the time. It's a different experience to be a commuter, but it's an equally wonderful experience in my opinion. So definitely that commuter community definitely helped make my transition as smooth as it possibly could have been.
So my experience was also pretty atypical in that I studied abroad in London during my freshman year. So first off, I had to transition into London, which was incredible. NYU, if any of you are studying abroad for your first year, you'll have an incredible opportunity to really get acclimated to your new home, wherever that may be. And then coming here my sophomore year, NYU also does a really good job of making sure that everyone is well acclimated to New York City. I live on campus, so there's plenty of events to go to within the residence hall, but there's also events to go to around NYU, whether it's Welcome Week or whether it's just meeting with new students for different clubs.
Great. All right. So I'll ask another question for the ambassadors. What are exploration communities and are they worth joining? So those we're talking about exploration communities that exist within the residence halls here at NYU.
So because I've actually never lived on campus, I've never lived on an explorations floor, but I have tons of friends who have, or they're actually RAs on those exploration floors. Some of them have fantastic themes. One of my good friends who's an ambassador as well is an RA on the film floor. So he takes his residents to go see films all around New York City all the time for like really reduced rates, which is absolutely awesome. There's also really cool floors. I know there's a French floor in Hayden, one of our freshman residence halls, which I would have loved because I'm a French minor. There's so many opportunities to get involved in explorations floors. There's one called Laughing Matters, which you go to comedy shows all the time. So if you see one that really jives with your interests, I would say go for it. Honestly, it's a way to really get out there to experience New York City, and you have an RA who's an expert on the subject and can really guide you and help make sure you're having tons of fun with stuff you're interested in. So I would say go for it.
And I also think it's a really great way to ensure that you have a common bond or a shared interest with individuals on your floor. So it's a great way to know that you all share a common interest, which can be really useful for students that are moving to a new city where they don't know anyone and so on and so forth. So, so the next question is there a way to skip a course in college if we took a similar one in high school, like AP Calc or through dual enrollment? So that's a really great question, and certainly sometimes students will come to NYU with, what we call advanced standing credit, which is coming from AP exams or IB exams or A levels and IB exams, things like that. So certainly sometimes students will come in with credit that is going to place them a little bit ahead, and sometimes that's going to put you ahead academically. So if you've already taken AP Calc, maybe if you plan to study math in college, you'll be taking a more advanced math course than you would if you didn't have that advanced standing credit. So that's something that we evaluate generally over the summer, and also something that you're going to work with your academic advisor with. Advanced standing credit is only an opportunity available to students at our New York campus. So at NYU Abu Dhabi or NYU Shanghai, we actually don't offer advanced standing credit for AP or IB exams and things like that. And just in addition to that, NYU doesn't offer advanced standing credit for dual enrollment courses. So if you're a student who's taking a community college course as part of your high school experience, and that's counting towards your high school graduation requirements, you're not going to get transfer credit for that, but it's certainly something that shows us that you're ready for the rigor of NYU, that you've really chosen to challenge yourself as a high school student, take advantage of academic challenges, and that you're really ready to, to move on to the academic challenges of NYU. All right, so let's see some live questions that are coming in. Oh, this is a good one. What is the best freshman residence hall?
I don't think there's one that's the best per se. It all depends on what you're looking for. So if you're looking for a residential college, which is so much more than just a residence hall, it's really a way to get involved in a whole other community at NYU, then definitely look at Goddard. If you want to be close to campus in a brand new renovated building, look at Hayden. If you want some of the best food on campus, look at Weinstein. If you want a huge room, go to Founders. So they really all have, their strengths for sure. We also have our low-cost options in Reuben. My advice to all of you would be to really make sure you do your research. There's virtual tours online of all of our residence halls. So make sure that you do your research, you figure out what's important to you, and then select that when you're thinking about your preferences.
At NYU Abu Dhabi, all freshman students are going to live pretty much in the same dorm. There's visitation, non-visitation floors and buildings. So, for example, if you could choose to live in a female non-visitation building where only ladies could go, or there are also male non-visitation floor for freshmen as well. But our Resed people who are really excited to see you there, guys. They will take good care of you. They will organize lots of events. So, you just kind of get used to campus, get used to Abu Dhabi, get used to new community out there. Robert Leary, who is the residential college director for freshman students, and Vanessa Matthews, who is his assistant, will organize lots and lots of programs throughout the year.
And one thing I want to add, I'm sure if you've ever been to any of our information sessions, you've heard this, but one thing that's really exciting and unique about NYU housing is that every room or suite has its own bathroom. So as a first year student, you don't have to worry about sharing a bathroom with 16 other girls down at the end of the hall or anything like that. And I think that is really, really special and something that's very unique to NYU. So as you talk to friends that are attending other colleges and universities, you'll realize just how special it really is to have your own bathroom.
I know I brag about that on my tours.
Yeah, it's exciting, right? All right, so kind of continuing with the theme of housing, will we know who our roommate is prior to move-in day?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember that I was able to access that through the housing portal. And so you'll find that out. You'll be able to see who your roommates are. And if they provide their email, you'll be able to send them that email, maybe find them on Facebook. It just depends on how much information you're willing to provide to your roommates and vice versa. So, yeah.
And then once you get in touch with your roommate, you can coordinate things like who's bringing
a microwave.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
things like, or if you want to get matching comforters, maybe that's not. Do people do that anymore? Maybe not. When I was in college, that was, my roommate and I wanted to have our match. But again, but we'll certainly learn about your roommate at least a few weeks before NYU Welcome Day, which is the day where all of our first year students move onto campus. It's a really, really exciting day. And just kind of moving on to that, can you all talk a little bit about roommate selection? How what kind of questions are asked on that questionnaire? How do you find a roommate that's compatible with you, since NYU doesn't allow you to request your roommate as a first year student?
Yeah, for me, so I remember they asked us what kind of sleeping habits we have. So whether we go to bed super early or go to bed super late, what time we wake up, and then also our cleanliness habits. So, if we want a room that's super clean, or, we don't care if the room is messy. They kind of line questions based off of that. And so those come in handy, especially, when it comes to like late night, whether you have a roommate that likes to stay up super late, playing video games or watching TV, and you want to go to bed early. It's nice to be with a roommate that has similar schedules as you.
So after you filled out, did you get along with your freshman roommate? Was it a good match?
Yeah, it was a good match. We were pretty close with our sleeping schedules, so it worked. And either way, you get along with people you meet. It's living with someone new, so it's being willing to be adaptable and to also adjust a little bit.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your
freshman? So it's also the way it works at NYU Abu Dhabi as well. Basically, you fill out your profile, right, and there's certain things that you fill out, like mess, room messy or clean, right? Amount of noise, amount of light. What else was out there? Can't quite remember. But basically, you can also write about yourself a little bit as well. And then there is matching process, right? So you can request a roommate, or say at NYU Abu Dhabi, if you met someone during the candidate weekend and you really want a room with that person, then you can do it. There are a lot of students from a lot of countries at NYU, of course, diversity. So my freshman year, we had a double, and my roommate was from Hungary, my immediate roommate. My two other roommates were from Hong Kong and Malaysia, and we did get along well. It was a fun year. We would have like a roommate thing to go out to the gym together.
It's good to have a gym buddy, right? It motivates you to go. You're accountable.
So it was fun. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So kind of shifting gears a little bit, this question is asking about our admitted student weekend, which is called Weekend on the Square. We call it WATS for short. So what can we expect to do at Weekend on the Square? I'll let the ambassador start, and then I'll fill in any of the gaps from the admissions perspective.
So Weekend on the Square is an absolute blast. I can speak from an ambassador perspective. I know that all the ambassadors just have so much fun on Weekend on the Square. So you can expect a ton of programming. So probably not most importantly, but probably most relevantly to what actually you're going to be studying, there'll be school sessions. So if you're admitted to the College of Arts and Science, there'll be a College of Arts and Science session. Same for, Stern, Steinhardt, Tandon, all those schools. There'll be a school-specific session that'll be led by, a counselor and people from the admissions team to tell you a little bit more about the school. And basically our whole campus is going to be drenched in balloons. You'll see balloons everywhere. So there's tours of the residence halls led by ambassadors. So you can actually, that person who asked what's the best residence hall, you can come see for yourself if you're coming to Watts. There's like at the admissions lounge where you can just ask an admissions counselor. There's campus tours going on all the time. There's so much programming. You will not be bored for 1 second if you come to Weekend on the Square.
And it's a great way to connect with other admitted students, to meet individuals from the school or college that you've been admitted to, or see friends from, your high school or surrounding schools that have also been admitted to NYU. We also have a resource fair, so if you want to learn about different programs that occur here at NYU, different resources that we have available on campus, it's just a really great way to get a feel for campus, and it's very celebratory. It's really a very exciting weekend, and everyone's in purple. You don't have to wear purple, but there's definitely a lot. Violet, excuse me.
Multiple shades of purple. Multiple shades.
After working at NYU for 5 years, I own so much. Purple has become one of my favorite colors. I always loved purple, but I think
you don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
I actually thought about it this morning. I was like, purple? And I was like, is that ironic? And I was like,
all right, so I know that RJ touched on this a little bit, but one of our questions is about first year study abroad opportunities. So as students in the Liberal Studies core program or the Global Liberal Studies program, you do have the opportunity to spend your freshman year abroad in London, Florence, Paris, Washington, D.C., or New York. For some of you admitted to the Liberal Studies core program, your offer of admission gave you the opportunity to choose which site you want to begin your freshman year, where you want to spend your freshman year. And for others, you were admitted specifically to a site based on your preference that you indicated on your common application. And then for students that were admitted to our Global Liberal Studies program, so long as you're 18 by the start date, you're able to study in any of those sites that I listed. So London, Florence, Paris, Washington, D.C., or here in New York. So Arjun, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience studying abroad in London? Was that a choice that you made as a student admitted to the Global Liberal Studies program, and what was it like?
Yeah, so I was actually admitted into the core program, and I made a mistake when I applied to NYU in that I didn't mean to apply to London. I just kind of accidentally applied by ticking a box, but I did, and it was wonderful. There's something special about studying abroad your freshman year. Freshman year, you'll see when you're here, it's a really big year to grow as an individual. You learn a lot about yourself, but especially when you're abroad. You're interacting with people from all different cultures, backgrounds. You're living in a different country a lot of the time. And studying in London was amazing. We had classes in the British Museum. We went to Greenwich, which there's a Greenwich in London, not Greenwich Village here. You got to travel on the weekends to Paris or Portugal or Spain. So studying abroad was amazing. And coming into sophomore year, having this world view and really being able to focus when you get to New York, it's amazing.
So that was a good mistake then that you made on your application. The best mistake. And then for those of you who were offered admission to a particular global site and you wish to change your site, you can reach out to my colleague. His name is Colin Brown, and he manages a wait list for students that wish to change their first year site. There's no guarantee that we'll be able to accommodate students' requests to change their site, but if you are, were admitted to spend your freshman year in London, although after RJ's, story of his experience, I think now you're all convinced that London's where you want to spend your freshman year. But if you do wish to change your site, you can email Colin at colin.brown@nyu.edu, and he can offer you additional information about how that waitlist for the global sites works. So I also spent my first time during my freshman year abroad, so I can't say enough good things about it. So, but I think RJ really sold it, right? So, all right. So this question is more specific to NYU Abu Dhabi. And the question is there a limit to how many concentrations we can do along with our major?
That's a very good question. So technically you could double major, right? Although basically you wouldn't be encouraged to do it. So there's so many opportunities to explore in Abu Dhabi along with the semesters abroad. So say it really depends on the academic program that you want to take up. There are about 22 majors, and depends on what you take and how rigorous the schedule you make for yourself. So, for example, some of my friends I know choose to, for example, double major in theater and music. Theater and music go very well with each other, right? So, yes, they can double major. If you would go to a registrar or your academic advisor and talk about taking up a bunch of concentrations, they would probably tell you, you should perhaps focus more on your major. Concentrations are quite interesting and important, and you can take up a lot of a lot of interesting courses at NYU Abu Dhabi or other sites abroad if you choose to go abroad. But perhaps focus more on the major itself. Concentrations are good, but it's kind of crazy to go for the label, just for the label, So go out there, explore. All students, if you're an engineering student, you will perhaps most likely spend a whole year in New York your junior year. Every single NYU Abu Dhabi kid is required to spend at least one semester abroad. And usually it's your sophomore spring, so say my spring right now. You can spend spring and fall together or 2 springs together, and there are also opportunities to travel during J-term. So 1 J-term abroad is required as well, and 3 J-terms you must take during the 4-year academic studies.
So you have way more stamps in your passport as an NYU Abu Dhabi student than you did before.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to the next question. So this is specific to our School of Engineering. And the question is, are students at the Tandon School of Engineering involved with students and activities here on our Washington Square campus in Manhattan? So, Jenny, do you want to touch on that?
I would say it's completely up to you how involved you want to get on either campus. I know that the School of Engineering has a ton of programming. They have clubs over there. They have all sorts of stuff. So if you really wanted to kind of spend your whole NYU experience at the Tandon location in Brooklyn, you totally could. I also know that if you wanted to get involved on campus here at Washington Square, that's totally possible. When you come to NYU at the beginning of your first fall semester, well actually every fall semester, but it'll be your first fall semester, we have what's called Club Fest. So it's basically this huge organization where there's all the student clubs have tables. You can kind of go around, shop, figure out what's good for you, what you want to get involved in. You can sign up for listservs for different things you want to get involved in, so you can get emails about them. So, if a Tandon student wanted to make sure that they were really involved on Washington Square's campus, they could just come to Club Fest, check everything out, and make sure that they were, getting really involved. So I would say it's probably up to the student, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah, and just kind of spelling that out into academics too. Students at NYU's New York campus have the opportunity to pursue a cross-school minor. So a student could be studying electrical engineering, but they could have a cross-school minor in Washington Square in English at the College of Arts and Science, or in dance at the Tisch School of the Arts. So even though every student at NYU New York has a school or college that they call home, they have the opportunity to really explore outside of that as well. So I think, like Kelly said, it's really up to you to decide how much you really want to get out there and experience, Manhattan versus Brooklyn. But I think many of our students really do take advantage of, both boroughs, so to speak, both on an extracurricular and on an academic level as well.
And there's a bus that goes between the two.
Yeah, so you don't have to get on the subway
You don't
or
have to
anything
worry
like
about
that,
that.
right? Yeah. Okay. Next question. Will we be able to see the residence halls in Brooklyn during weekend on the square? So we have 2 residence halls in Brooklyn. One is called Clark and one is called Othmer. I live in Brooklyn, so I'm a little bit biased. I think Brooklyn's the coolest borough. So our students in the School of Engineering are able, as first year students, they will live in Brooklyn, and then after that they have the opportunity to choose living in the residence hall, choose from residence halls within our Washington Square campus as well, and vice versa. So sophomores that are, housed within the College of Arts and Science, for example, could choose to live in Brooklyn in their sophomore year if they wanted to, and moving forward. And so generally during weekend on the square, we do try to have those residence halls open as well. Usually we have most of our first year residence halls open so that you can see a room and really get a feel for what the experience is like in those different residence halls. So as you fill out your housing preference form, you know exactly what it is that you want. So certainly we'll have housing first available in Brooklyn. All right. Is there any way to get involved in filmmaking if I'm part of the core program? So certainly, you know, at NYU, as you heard me say before, this is, you know, even though you have one particular program that you're housed within, you have the opportunity to take classes across the different schools and colleges. And within the Tisch School of the Arts in particular, we have what's called an open arts curriculum. And those are Tisch courses that are offered specifically to non-Tisch majors. So you have the opportunity to take courses within various artistic programs and really get to explore. So even if you're a student within the core program, you would certainly have the opportunity to take some film courses. In your first year, your curriculum is quite structured. So in your first year, you take social foundations, cultural foundations, and a writing course. And then you have one elective credit as well that you can choose to pursue. So you could take, you know, a film course if you wanted to, or you could take a course in the major that you're interested in pursuing once you transition out of the core program. But certainly there are opportunities to get involved within the film program, both academically, and then there's certainly lots of extracurricular activities that are related to film as well. So I don't know if any of you want to touch on different clubs that we have.
I believe there's a minor in film production.
I
know there's an ambassador who's minoring in film production. He actually does a lot of the sort of media for the ambassador program. He's really talented. So I know he's learned a lot of stuff through that program. And he's not a film major, he's a film minor. So keep that in mind.
All right. Okay, so the next question is for our ambassadors, and it's what kind of events do we take part in at freshman orientation, which we call Welcome Week here at NYU. So in New York, it's Welcome Week. In Abu Dhabi, it's Marhaba Week, and in Shanghai, it's Huanying Week. So it means welcome in various languages across our global network. So, you know, why don't we start with New York, and then we can talk a little bit about Abu Dhabi.
So New York, so there is so many programs. There's over 450 programs that go on during Welcome Week. There is absolutely everything. So there's lots of stuff that's both practical and also really fun. So if you live in one of the residence halls, you'll definitely be getting a ton of orientation around the residence hall, you know, rules, all that kind of stuff, but also really fun stuff to do with your RA, with your roommate, with your suite mates to make sure you're all getting along, all having a great time. And then there's like practical NYU stuff. So I remember I took a tour of the library. I remember I attended a program called Dude, Where's My Class? To help you figure out where you were going on that very first day so you weren't late, which I know is a huge fear of mine. And then every night there is a super, super fun event to go to. So I remember a casino night, there was a hypnotist, and at the end of every Welcome Week, there's a big dance up in Kimmel. It's so much fun. There's a great theme every year. My theme, my freshman year, was Lady Gaga themed. It was in honor of our NYU alum who performed so beautifully at the Oscars last night. But it was so much fun. It was called the Monster Ball, and it was a great way to sort of, you know, get some of those anxieties out, to meet new people, you know, just to have a really good time before you settle into the routine of classes. So Welcome Week, it's busy, it's exciting. Make sure, you know, you rest and hydrate so you can get through it all, but it's absolutely a ton of fun.
And one thing I think that's really cool about Welcome Week is here in New York, they open Bed Bath & Beyond, at 10 p.m. And they bus students up to the Bed Bath & Beyond in Chelsea, so, you know, a couple of blocks away from Washington Square. And you can just go and buy all, you know, pillows, microwaves.
Oh, yeah.
I went down in London. I love Bed Bath & Beyond. So that's kind of, again, like a nuts and bolts thing, you know, if you're worried about what you need to furnish your residence hall and things like that. So we have you shut down Bed Bath & Beyond to the public, and it's open only to NYU students. You can go crazy if you want. So RJ, do you want to add anything about Welcome Week or what your experience was like in London, what kind of orientation you had?
Yeah, in London, they made a really conscious effort to make us feel really acclimated to London itself. Also with the neighboring college, University College London, where you also had the opportunity to join a lot of clubs there. So not only did you have some clubs within NYU London's campus, there was hundreds of clubs within UCL. So then you get to meet all kinds of local British students too, which was really cool. They have concerts, they have parties. It's a blast. And you get to meet these people that you're going to spend your freshman year with, which is about 100 students in London. And you really get close with them within that first week.
And do you want to tell us a little bit about Marhaba?
Sure. So I actually got to help and plan Marhaba Week for freshman students this year. It was part of my internship program, which you can guys do as well. You can apply for it. The application process starts just now for freshmen, for whoever is enrolled as freshman right now, and so they can do it during the summer. But what we did was basically we also had trips to IKEA. We had. Yes. So you'll have opportunity to furnish your apartment, make it very personal, whatever you want with it, pretty much. You'll be able to go to all sorts of dances. Some of the activities are required, some of them are not. You will learn about it during the first couple of days there. But Marhaba Week is required for everybody. It's just kind of to get to know your freshman group of students and people you'll be spending, time with. It's going to be, so I think the class size is probably a little over 300 students right now. So there's a chance that you can get a large amount of people, meet them within the week. There will be a lot of surprises. There will be trips to, for example, Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque, which is the largest marvelous mosque in Abu Dhabi. Perhaps a desert trip, perhaps some other surprises that the Office of First Year Programming planned for you. So it'll be lots of fun, lots of surprises, lots of networking, and getting to know people.
Yeah, and did you get to reconnect with some of the individuals you met at Candidate Weekend during Marhaba?
Oh yes,
too?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. All right. I want to go back. I want to participate more. I'm jealous. All right. So the next question is, when can we choose our courses? Which is certainly a really great question, and we'll each talk about course registration a little bit. But I want to let you know that course registration is often specific to the school, college, or program to which you are admitted to. So, course registration might look different for a Stern student than it looks for a CAS student than it looks for a student at our School of Professional Studies. So over the summer, generally, you'll have to fill out a questionnaire. You'll have sometimes a Skype session with your academic advisor. It's a little bit different for every single school or college. So you'll receive information forthcoming about that in your Next Up NYU emails that you get, and also from your school or college that you're a part of. But we can talk a little bit about course registration. If you remember. So long ago, right?
Yeah. I don't remember really any problems. I mean, I think I remember I was stressed out about trying to get in the classes, and oh man, what if I'm not going to be able to register for the classes I want, the times I want? But it all works out. I mean, at least in my experiences. And you talk to your academic advisor, you have a pretty solid game plan, especially freshman year. You have your core classes that you got to take, so it's pretty easy.
I remember my advisor reached out to me fairly soon, after sort of everything had died down in terms of paying your deposits and everything. I remember my advisor reached out to me, and I remember there was a very clear list of classes that I had to take. This is what you have to take. So maybe that was just for my major, I don't know, but it was very clear to me what I had to take, and it was so much fun to go on Albert and shop around for classes. It was really exciting.
And your advisor walked you through how to navigate the Albert system.
Absolutely. I just remember it being really exciting and a lot of fun, and I wasn't worried about getting the classes because I knew there were not lots of sections for the classes that I needed, so I wasn't worried, and I got all my classes, and I was just raring to go.
They also send out a video. At least I remember my freshman year, I got a video with super clear instructions as to how to sign up. So it was easy.
As far as I remember, freshman students at NYU fill out 8 preferences for their courses. So basically, you have these 4 options that you are planning you might want to take. Perhaps some general electives or some other courses that you think would be good for your major. Or if you're undecided, then perhaps some interesting courses that you keep in mind, in addition to requirements or in addition to core classes that you have to take.
And just kind of a side note, for students that were admitted early decision, which you're all admitted early decision, generally course registration and advisement starts after May 1st, usually sometimes after you've graduated from high school. So, be patient. Don't worry if you haven't heard from an advisor or anything like that. You're likely going to hear sometime over the summer is generally when the bulk of your course registration is going to take place. And just kind of similar to what we just talked about, how many courses do freshmen usually take in their first semester?
So that completely depends on your program and your major. I remember, so certainly my academic program, I've always had sort of a fairly standard course load of either four credit classes for a total of 16, and then there's been a couple semesters where I've taken an extra 2 credit class, so I've had 18. But I know that there are students, particularly in some of our performing arts and music programs, that take crazy numbers of credits. They'll have 14 credits one semester, and then they'll have 23 credits the next semester. It's crazy. So it totally depends, at least to my knowledge, it totally depends on your school or college and your major. But again, that's when that advisor comes in. They'll definitely tell you, everything that you need to know about that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I took 16 credits my first 3 semesters. This semester, I'm taking 17 credits. But most of the students within liberal studies take 4 classes that are each worth 4 credits, totaling 16 credits this semester.
Right, the same for me. I would usually take up an internship during the semester as well, so it kind of helps to balance out your work and study. You can definitely overload if the advisor thinks there's a need for that, but perhaps not in your freshman year. You'll be getting used to a lot of new things.
So So just kind of continuing on the academic questions, this next question is, what is the process for switching majors or colleges inside of the university? Which is a really common question that we get. Students change their mind all the time. It's really common for a student to apply to one program and realize that maybe there's another program at NYU that they didn't even know about when they applied as a first-year student. So certainly we have students that come into NYU studying one thing and then realize, hey, you know what, I changed my mind, my interests have changed. And so that process is what we call an internal transfer process. And it's something that's managed by the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. So even after you've been admitted as a first-year student, you would work with the Office of Admissions to fill out your internal transfer application. We do our best to accommodate as many internal transfers as we can, but internally, it's never a guarantee that we can accommodate all internal transfer applications. So we're really looking for students that have been performing well academically within the school or college that they call home, and then they will fill out that internal transfer application at the, sometimes at the end of their freshman year to begin at a new school or college within the fall of their sophomore year, and sometimes students change their mind a little bit later. You can generally internally transfer up until the end of your sophomore year, so into early junior year. And so it's a simple application that you fill out through NYU Albert, and you will write a short personal statement about why you wish to internally transfer, and that's something that we review along with your transcripts to see how you've been performing academically. Certain programs here at NYU have specific prerequisites for students that are internally transferring. So if you are interested in internally transferring to the Stern School of Business, there are some prerequisite courses that you need to take, and you can find all of those courses listed on the undergraduate admissions website. So certainly we have students who change their mind. Sometimes students are just interested in changing their major within the school or college that they call home. So if you're a student in the College of Arts and Science, and maybe you thought you were going to be a biology major, but then you decide that you really want to be a chemistry major instead, that's just a simple change of major form. So the process does differ depending on the school or college that you wish to transition into, but all that information can be found on our website. And I don't know if any of you can speak to friends that you've had that have changed their mind, or Kelly, it sounds like you have your own personal experience that you can touch on a little bit.
Yeah, no, I actually did. So I applied to the Global Liberal Studies program. I was super excited about studying abroad. I was so gung-ho, and I got here and I was like, you know what, I loved my classes, I loved my professors, and I realized that my academic interests had actually sort of shifted since I'd applied to Global Liberal Studies. And like Becca said, there was, this opportunity to hear about this program that I didn't even know about when I applied, and that was the Media Culture and Communication program. I heard about it, I took one class that was called Introduction to Media Studies, and I was so hooked. I knew that had to be my new major. So it was pretty straightforward, just like Becca said. I was transferring from school to school. Global Liberal Studies is one school, and I was transferring into the Steinhardt School. So I just went online to Albert. I filled out that form. I discussed why my academic interests had changed, how I thought, my future career may be better served by this one program. And, I got my department to submit all my transcripts. And, I was lucky enough to be admitted to the MCC program in Steinhardt. So that was super exciting for me. I absolutely loved my time in Global Liberal Studies. People who hear me talk about Global Liberal Studies always ask me why I transferred, because I just had an incredible experience in that program too. But it has been an incredible ride at MCC as well, and I couldn't be happier that NYU makes this option available to students for sure.
Yeah, and I just want to extend a little bit more. I know a common question that we get is often from students that have been admitted to the Liberal Studies core program that have questions about how they transition out of the Liberal Studies core program once they complete the program at the end of their sophomore year. And so that's something that happens with your academic advisor and also our office. And so usually in the spring of your sophomore year, we'll reach out to you to have you fill out a questionnaire as to which specific school, college, or program you wish to transition into. Some programs at NYU have guaranteed transition, so you can easily transition from the core program into the College of Arts and Science, but some programs require a little bit more of a complex application. If you want to transition into the Stern School of Business, you would have to fill out an internal transfer application. If you want to transition into the Tisch School of the Arts, you have to submit a portfolio. So that process differs a little bit for each program here at NYU, but certainly we work closely with students and with their academic advisors to make sure that they have, they're transitioning out of the core program into the right major for them here within the university. Do you want to touch on that at all a little bit, or?
I know that after starting off in the core program and transitioning to the Global Liberal Studies program, but still having a lot of friends who are in the core program, it's really easy to transition, usually, depending on whatever school you want to transition to, whatever major. But especially within the core program, you have a very close relationship with your academic advisor, where they know you want to study, they know your interests, they know your passions. So they're really helping you out along the whole way.
All right, so it's 5:40 p.m. It's getting close to dinner time, so I want to ask some questions about on-campus dining options. So the questions you've all been waiting for, right? So the first question is about meal plans. So let's talk about how meal plans work. We'll start by talking about meal plans in New York, and then we can talk a little bit about meal plans in Abu Dhabi.
So yeah, I have a meal plan. I have a huge meal plan. I don't know how to cook. I really don't. So I eat at either Kimmel or Palladium or Hayden or Weinstein or Third North Dining Hall. Those are the usual ones I attend. The food's really good. I mean, it's like my mom was worried at first about how the food was going to be, whether I'd be liking it. She read on some blog somewhere that the food's no good. The food's really good. You can get like a whole pizza for one meal swipe from Palladium. You can get sushi. You can get pasta. And there are some nights where they have like extra special food at the different dining halls. You have tons of options. You don't really get sick of it because you can just try new things out all the time. So you're in good hands in the dining halls.
Yeah, seriously, I'm a commuter student and I do actually cook, so I've never had a meal plan. But my freshman year, my friends realized that I didn't have a meal plan and they realized that I was missing out on all the great food. So they quickly made it their mission to make sure that I was trying all the best food in all the dining halls. So they proceeded to like take me around. So like Hayden is famous for its cookies, and like Palladium is famous for its brunch. You'll learn all these things when you get here. And so they proceeded to literally take me around and always swipe me in. So that's actually how the meal plan sort of technically works. So with your meal plan, you get a certain number of meal swipes. In addition, you get a certain number of dining dollars. So your meal swipe, it's pretty basic. So we actually have a bunch of different types of dining halls. So some are like the more traditional all-you-can-eat style where you just swipe your card, you go in, and it's a free-for-all. And then there's some that are more like of a food court style where you get, like your entree, your side, and your drink for a meal swipe. And then you have your dining dollars, which is just a bulk number of dollars that you have on your meal plan that you can spend in like any of our little convenience markets, or the on-campus favorite, of course, is the Starbucks. So you can spend your dining dollars
too, right?
There is,
Yeah.
but
And a Chick-fil-A.
and a Chick-fil-A. So you can use your dining dollars.
Endless options here at
Yeah.
NYU, right?
You can use those dining dollars to stock up on, any sort of snacks or toothpaste or whatever you want in any of those locations as well. But, my mom was not concerned about me because she knew that I was going to cook for myself. But even if your moms are concerned, like RJ's mom, don't be concerned. I have to say the food is awesome.
Yeah, and then just one other question about the dining halls here in our New York campus. The question is about gluten-free options at NYU. We certainly have our dining halls that have specific gluten-free stations. I want to say Hayden has gluten-free, and Weinstein has a gluten-free section as well that I'm aware of. And I think a lot of students that have certain dietary restrictions, they let us know before they get to campus, so they're aware of where those gluten-free options, or if you keep kosher or anything like that. We have options across campus for students regardless of their dietary restriction. If you're vegan, we have lots of different options for students, and some students that have specific dietary interests or restrictions will sometimes choose to live in an apartment-style residence hall because it gives them a little bit more of an option to be able to cook for themselves if they're able to cook for themselves, if they want that opportunity as well. So within the freshman residence halls here in New York, that would be Third North as one of our residence hall, or one of our apartment-style residence halls, and then we do have apartment-style residence halls in Brooklyn as well. But let's talk a little bit about food at NYU Abu Dhabi.
Sure, I agree with these guys. Food here is awesome. As someone who comes from Abu Dhabi, food in Abu Dhabi is decent too. We have the meal swipes as well. It's a similar structure, similar works similar way. Students do like to go out to eat as well. So usually we would have a shuttle that takes us to the city a couple of times per day, and we would go out to eat. Maybe depends, right, on how often you can afford it, how often you want to do it. But definitely there are cafeterias on campus, so you can. There is also a marketplace on campus. You can get sushi. You can get all sorts of burgers, or all sorts of grab and goes. There are 5 stations, as I remember, in one of our dining halls. So we used to have 2 dining halls. One of them closed. Now as we will have more students, I'm sure they'll open it if there will be need for that. We do have a library cafe. Some of the stations that are in our dining hall are pizza station. You can get a hot walk. You can get grab and go. You can get grill. And there should be more. So we also have this idea of a global kitchen. So sometimes our chefs would cook something from different countries from around the world, which is also kind of fun.
I'm hungry now.
I know, me too, right? Dinner time. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about academics. So this question is about taking classes at other schools at NYU, which is a great question, and we touched upon it a little bit earlier, but certainly I don't think there's any student at NYU that only takes classes in the school or college that their major is housed within. I think every student is taking, maybe a liberal arts course within our College of Arts and Science, or they're taking, an engineering course over at the Tianjin School. So there's so many opportunities to take courses outside of the school or college that you call home here in New York. So can you talk about maybe some courses that you've taken outside of the programs, or within the courses outside of the core program since you've been here at NYU?
Yeah, so I took social entrepreneurship last semester at Stern School of Business, and that was one of my favorite classes. It was really interesting, and it was really easy to enroll in. There are a lot of classes where you don't have to be a part of that school or a part of a specific major to take that class. So it gives you a chance to really diversify your interests.
Yeah. I love taking classes in other schools throughout my time at NYU. So I started in, the liberal studies school, and then I transitioned into Steinhardt. My minor is in the College of Arts and Science, but I've also taken classes in Stern and Tisch. I think it's great because, the average NYU student is so interested in so many things. And so, NYU's format of the schools and colleges, but with the flexibility to sort of move within them is really exciting. And I've taken things that just sounded cool. I took Intro to Marketing in Stern because I was like, that sounds fantastic. And, like RJ said, I was in a specifically non-Stern section for that class. So, that class was open only to non-Stern students. So, I definitely had straight access to that class. And, I've taken just courses just for fun, in the Tisch school and all sorts of stuff. So it's really exciting to basically have the entire university at your fingertips when you're a student here.
Yeah, so just kind of, building off of that, we have lots of students here at NYU that have lots of different academic interests. Maybe they have the interest in double majoring, or they want to pursue a major and a minor, or a major and a double minor. And I'd say many of our students will have more than one academic interest here at the university. And so this question says, I once read that some advisors prefer for students to wait until their sophomore year before they start thinking about a double major. Is that true, and how does it work? Certainly, like we said before, students change their mind all the time. They come to NYU thinking they're going to study one thing, and they change their mind, or they realize they're passionate about two things. They want to devote all their time at NYU to studying those two different subjects. Oftentimes, students will start thinking about their double major in their freshman year, just to kind of map out what their coursework is going to look like over the next few years. Especially if you're interested in double majoring across two different schools or colleges within the university. So at NYU, certainly you have the opportunity to double major, but there are some restrictions related to those double majors depending on what it is that you would like to study. So if you're a student in the College of Arts and Science, you could have a double major within CAS, so you could be English and Anthropology, or Metropolitan Studies and French. But if you're a student in one of the other 9 schools or colleges at NYU, sometimes it is difficult to pursue a double major across those other 9 schools or colleges. So you couldn't double major in business and dance, for example, between Stern and Tisch. But a lot of students in our other schools or colleges outside of the College of Arts and Science are able to pursue a second major within CAS. So you could be a student in media, culture, and communication at Steinhardt, and you could also have an English major within the College of Arts and Science. But in order to be able to map all of that out, to complete everything that you want to complete at NYU in your 4 years, and also take some elective courses, explore some different areas, I think that conversation gets started early. So, like I said, students change their minds. So sometimes you don't think about a second major until your sophomore year because you're still thinking about what your first major is, right? So it really kind of depends on the student, but I encourage students to really get that conversation started with your academic advisor as soon as you really start thinking about what you want that double major to be, because it can be difficult depending on the 2 different areas that you want to combine. Does anyone want to add to that, or did I cover it? Yeah.
You got it.
All right, cool. All right, thumbs up. Okay, so question about life in New York. For someone who is attending another NYU campus to spend a semester in New York, so say you're a student at NYU Abu Dhabi and you want to spend a semester here in New York, what are some of the things that they should look forward to about the university in the short span of time? I've never been to New York before, this question asker asked. So was it your first time in New York when you got here this January, or?
It was, yeah, so when I came here this January, I was here for JDRM, right? So that was my freshman year.
Okay.
And it was really, really fun time. So I could talk about that time. It was actually the first time I've ever been to New York. It was I took this course which counted in Abu Dhabi as social research public policy, was called Wealth and Inequality in Global City. I'm sure it counts as a sociology requirement here with Jeff Manza. It was a great course. We had quite a few field trips to different fields of our study. We read a lot of interesting books, and it was generally a very nice, small environment where you could kind of, where we kind of had time to explore the city. As do all these touristy things like go to the Times Square, go to the Brooklyn Bridge, which are probably one of the first things that I wanted to do when I was planning my trip to New York.
Did you walk across the Brooklyn Bridge?
Halfway.
Halfway. So then you turned. Okay, all right.
Yeah, it would have been huge.
So you went from Manhattan halfway into Brooklyn and then turned around. Okay.
Right.
All right.
So that's some of the crazy things that NYU Abu Dhabi kids did, because we're just so used to the desert, even from our first semester studying there. When you come to Abu Dhabi, it's rather warm, kind of hot actually.
Oh, you were here in January too.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
So you get to come here and then go back to the desert, which is fun.
So what would you say, as students who have lived in New York for a little bit now, what's your favorite thing about New York City if you're telling a student the first thing they have to do when they get to NYU? What would you say?
I think that really depends on what your interests are. Like for me, like I was a dancer my whole life and I did a lot of musical theater growing up. So Broadway is like absolutely one of my favorite things about New York. And of course we have Ticket Central here at NYU, so you can get super cheap Broadway tickets. So that's one of my favorite things. If I'm feeling, stressed or whatever, I'll just splurge on a ticket to go to a Broadway show. And that absolutely puts me, in the right mindset to keep on, working on my academics or whatever it may be. But honestly, figure out what your interests are. If you're an art history buff, there's the Met. If you're a sports buff, of course, we have the Yankees or the Mets, whatever your preference is. If you're a real foodie, make sure that you're going out and trying all the restaurants. Just figure out what your interests are and go with that. I mean, hopefully you'll have several years here, so you'll have lots of time to experience it all. But if you're super excited to get those first couple things done, make sure that it's really in line with what you're passionate about, honestly.
Yeah. And make sure to check out the Museum of Modern Art. NYU students have free admission, so you can make use of it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Okay, so this is an admissions-related question. And the question is, what happens if I don't meet my A-level or IB predictions? Can I still come to NYU? So I'm going to broaden that out just to talk about academic performance in general, and then we'll talk specifically about predicted scores. As I said earlier, your offer of admission to NYU is conditional upon successful completion of high school, meaning we want to see that you're continuing to perform at the level academically that you were when you were admitted, right? So if you were an A student, we want you to continue to be an A student. Sometimes students will let the excitement of senior year, prom, homecoming, all of those exciting events that are happening towards the end of the year get in the way of their academics. And once you have that offer of admission in your hand, which is so exciting, it sometimes feels a little bit easier to slack off and get excited about other things. But it is really important that you continue to study, that you continue to perform well academically, because every year we see students that send us, they had a perfect solid A transcript, and then second semester of senior year has C's and D's, and that's really disappointing for us. And sometimes we do have to rescind a student's offer of admission, or they come to NYU on academic probation. So we really, I don't want to scare you, but we really certainly want you to perform well academically and to really prepare yourself for what's next in your life. NYU is incredibly academically challenging, so it's important for you to continue to challenge yourself academically while you're still in high school. In regards to IB or A-level predictions, we really do want students' predictions or their final results to be very reflective of their predictions. And we understand that sometimes, an IB final exam or your IB final report will be, a point or two lower than your IB predictions, but we really do expect that it doesn't differ significantly from where your predictions were, both at the A level and the IB level as well. We really want to see that you're performing well academically. And as I said, if you perform really poorly on those exams, you may have your offer of admission rescinded or come to NYU on academic probation. So we really don't want that to happen with students. So it's really important for you to continue to study, to continue really performing well academically. And at the end of the day, it's really going to pay off for you, because it's going to ensure that you're really ready for all that NYU has to offer. I hope I didn't scare. That was a little scary. I'm sorry. I try to, it's important for you to do well academically, right? So, okay. Next question. Let's do a fun question now because I feel like I that was a little bit of a bummer, right? So okay. The question is related to housing, and the question is, are we able to stay in the residence halls during university holidays? And the answer to that is yes. Our residence halls are open during breaks, during Thanksgiving, you know, the Christmas winter break. So you can always stay in the residence halls if you're not going home for any of those breaks. And is that the same for NYU Abu Dhabi as well?
Unfortunately not. So if basically our winter break would be from December 21st till January 3rd, for example, right before the J term starts. Absolutely no one can stay on campus, and I'm sure you could address the issues that you're having with housing or whatsoever to the dean of students, but there's a very low likelihood that you will be able to stay on campus.
Okay. All right, and then continuing on with those housing questions, this question asks, can we live in a single person dorm in our first year? And the answer for that is generally no. Every student in their first year is required to have a roommate. Some of our students will live in triples depending on the housing option that they choose. And I believe it's the same for NYU Abu Dhabi as well, right? Do first year students all have roommates?
Right, they do. So yeah, you can choose your roommate.
And then after that, you know, in your sophomore year, you can choose to perhaps apply to live in a single room. But, you know, I think housing at NYU is so important for community building. It's really where students are able to meet individuals from all different walks of life, from different geographic areas, different majors at the university. So it's such a great opportunity to learn and interact with individuals from all around the world. So that's why we really do want all of our students to have a roommate in their first year. All right, and then are there any other? Okay, so one more question related to housing. How does move-in day work if we're coming from outside of New York City? That's a great question. It's a question that we get a lot, and it's something that's going to be mapped out really clearly on Next Up NYU once you get your housing assignment and everything like that. Move-in day is an incredibly exciting day at NYU. It is crazy, but it's just incredible. We have tons of volunteers, student volunteers, staff volunteers. This past year, I volunteered at Founders Hall, which is on 13th Street, 12th Street, 13th Street, around there. And it was me and our Dean of Admissions, Sean Abbott. He was our captain, and a bunch of other admissions counselors. And so move-in day, you'll be assigned a specific time depending on the floor that you live on. And so you'll know exactly when you're supposed to arrive within the residence halls. And we have, you know, kind of blocked off the road so you can pull your car up and then, you know, unload all of your stuff. Some students are coming, you know, they're not coming from driving distance, right? So they might just be coming with a suitcase, or maybe they're having Bed Bath & Beyond can deliver items for you and things like that. So we walk you through it really clearly during your through Next Up NYU, and once you start to hear from the residence hall that you live in. So it's definitely a crazy day, but it's you know, there's a method to the madness. It's very organized at the same time, and New York City really just feels alive that day because you know, it's all of our returning students are moving back onto campus. We have all of our first year students, so there's just a really incredible energy in Greenwich Village and in downtown Brooklyn that day as students are moving. And I don't know if you want to touch on move-in day at all. RJ, as someone who lives on campus.
That was just a really exciting time because, especially being in London my freshman year, you kind of come to New York City almost feeling like a freshman, even during your sophomore year because, you know, you're new to New York. But I met my new roommates and it was awesome. We grabbed dinner that night. I did only have, I think, you know, 2 suitcases. Meanwhile, my roommate drove in with a car full of stuff. So it's a little bit of a balance, but it's really easy to kind of grab the stuff you need to buy. You know, there's Kmart's, there's CVS, there's whatever places you need, and you probably will make multiple trips.
Yeah, that's the beauty of New York City. You can find anything you need anywhere,
Within
any time of day, pretty much, right? Cool. So now it's really time for us to wrap up, which I'm sad. This is the fastest hour of my life. I don't know how you guys feel. I feel like we're just scratching the surface. So we're so excited again to welcome you to NYU. Congratulations on being admitted. It's a huge accomplishment. You should be really proud of yourself. So I just want to give you some quick next steps as we wrap up. If you have any follow-up questions, like I said, I feel like we only scratched the surface. There's still so much more to learn about NYU. You can ask questions. You can send them to the Office of Admissions. So if you're a student admitted to NYU Abu Dhabi, you can email shanghai.admissions@nyu.edu. If you're a student admitted to NYU Shanghai, you can email shanghai.admissions@nyu.edu. And if you're a student for our New York campus, you can email questions to admissions@nyu.edu. And make sure that you're checking Next Stop NYU. You can go onto the website now, and it will be continuously updated over the coming months as we welcome the rest of your classmates on April 1st, our regular decision students. And Weekend on the Square is happening April 16th and 17th. So we're super excited to welcome you to campus. I think we, explained a little bit of Weekend on the Square is like, but I think you really need to experience it to really understand exactly, what goes on. So we really encourage you to come and visit us here. And if you can't make it to Weekend on the Square, we have other admitted student days. We'll also be having admitted student receptions across the U.S. and across the world. So you'll be learning more information about that within the next couple of weeks on our website and through various emails that we're going to send out. But if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us through those emails that I gave you, or hop onto our website, or give us a call, tweet us, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. We're going to be on Snapchat soon. That's really exciting on Meet NYU. I'm still learning what Snapchat is, but all the kids are telling me it's super cool. So we're really excited again to welcome you to NYU, and have a great afternoon or evening.
Everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.